What up? This is my microphone. It's louder here and quieter over here. So I probably will hold this. Where am I? Real quick. So I am at a town called Stratford, Ontario. My wife is here for the season. She is an actress and a singer, and so we have a little home here. And we're building a small studio, Mark and I. Mark's behind the camera here, that we will be able to work from a desk and maybe a television, old school breakdowns, as well as a little studio in Toronto. But for today, we're hanging out in front of the fireplace in my very uncomfortable chair. I hope this isn't too much of a groin shot. These are my friends on Periscope, and we're going to talk about Werdum versus Volkov, okay? We're also going to take a look at Jimi Manuwa and Jan Blachowicz. I'm a big fan of both those guys. Periscope. I pop up on Periscope because I've got friends and people who like to throw ideas and thoughts and questions, so it's really valuable. Like my friend Ralphie here, Mike, who said he'd love to hear me break into song. Thanks, man. So let's dig in a little bit. What do we tend to do here? I clear the plate super fast sometimes just by mentioning that I'll try to usually explore different things. If you like your things systematic the same way all the time, I might not be your guy, but I like to try to find different elements. What up, Serge? I try to find little different elements, different ways to look at something. Really, for me, it's about curiosity. Fighting is the most curious thing in the world. These fighters, how they craft their skills, how they build their bodies, how they build their mindset, how they build their strategy with their coaches. That, to me, is why I'm obsessed with fighting. It always will be, and that curiosity will never be quenched. In fact, it will always, thinking we know something will generally lead to realizing we don't understand it. We're looking for the easiest explanation, which is often not the right one. Sometimes it is, but often it isn't. It's just the one that we tend to go towards. So over time, we realize that we were wrong. Years ago, things we thought we knew, we didn't know. And that will go on forever. That's one of the reasons martial arts is so fascinating. Many things are like this. And the more you look at things that way, the more you see everything is like that. Wow, I thought I knew a lot about iced coffee. Turns out what I thought I knew is not true. That's the excitement. Sorry. So Werdum. Who's Fabricio Werdum? This is in dedication to Werdum, hot lava, because when you are that good at something in particular, other people don't want to do it, right? Because they're smart. So Werdum, hot lava means the mat when you're facing Werdum is like hot lava. When you were a little kid and you would play the hot lava game, everybody could move around, and when somebody yelled hot lava, you had to jump up onto another surface and stay off the ground. It's a fun game. Get really high and try playing it with your friends. And that's the case when you fight somebody of extreme skill. So we're going to look at a few different things about aspects of this fight. Sorry, I've been painting, so I've got paint on me and on my face and hands and in my hair. We're going to look at aspects about this fight, different aspects. Age and experience, youth versus, what happens naturally to all of us as we get older. Werdum's 40. Volkov's 29. And yes, of course, there's something that a cliche or an analogy, I don't know what the proper word that we would use, but that we say fighting age. That's a simplified thing. Great coaches will tell you that some guys, hey man, they have 20 fights by the time they're 25 and they're burnt out or they're shot. Other guys fight 60 times. Everybody's different. But age is an undeniable truth. It's an undeniable truth. Not a lot of things we are sure of. Two that come up often is the only two things we can be sure of is death and taxes. Even those, to be honest, taxes, one day we may have a new system in which taxes don't take place. There's been many systems where taxes don't exist, so that's not sure. And we may get to the point where we can, make people live for hundreds and thousands of years. It's possible. But we're fairly sure about those ones for now. And age it isn't just you will die one day, but on your route from being, and I don't mean to be a downer, but from being 2 years old to 20 years old to 40 to 60, you will have particular things that happen in your body. Your muscles will atrophy, but your brain, you will continue to learn. and you'll learn how to learn, and you'll see complex systems in simplified ways. And that's where we're at with Werdum. So is it possible that he is physically a little different than he was at 30? It's very possible. You know, he's a big, powerful man. Big, strong. My friend Diz here, he's at Talk MMA. Follow him. He has a huge head. Not Diz. Werdum. Werdum has a huge head. And he's a very big, very powerful man. And at different times in his 30s, he's been super physical. You don't think of him as an elite athlete, but when you're a heavyweight and you can move the way that he did, flying knees and things like that, front kicks. Go back and look. You're thinking of guillotines. I say Werdum, and you go, oh, yeah, guillotine on Cain Velasquez, and a triangle armbar on Fedor, and you think of that, but there's footage of him front kick to the face on, I think it was, I don't know, who did he front kick in the face? I think it was, Travis Brown. Obviously, we've seen him fly through the air twice now. The flying side kick the first time.
I think he's done it 3 times in his career.
3 times. And somebody asked, what's the chances of him doing it again? If a heavyweight did a flying side kick one time, I'd be like, I don't know if he'll do it again. But once you get into 2 and 3, you should start to expect it. But a big, powerful man, front kicks and jumping snap kicks, flying knees, fake take. Go back and look how he took out Hunt. I mean, there's some brilliant stuff. So you think of him as athletic. That has to go. At 40, did it go? I'm fucking 48, and I've done jiu-jitsu the last couple of days. I'm sore, but I can move okay still. Better, actually, because I know a little bit more than a few years back. You can still maintain it to a certain degree, but at some point it goes. Is it today? You know, and it isn't black or white. You're not young or old. It starts to go into the gray. The beautiful push kick on Edmund. That's nice. Also, Fife says, what up, Mark? Yeah, there was a beautiful push kick on Edmund. Good point. But that will start to go. So what do we gain? Does that just mean as you get older, you can't fight as well? Absolutely not. Anybody that is 30 thinks of themselves as 20, really thinks in a self-aware way, realizes that they understand the world in more ways. They understand, if they're lucky, they understand their self in more ways, in deeper ways. They understand the systems of fighting. They understand the small and the big. And that's what Werdum's advantage will be, right? Now, you got a man by the name of Alexander Volkov. He's quite... he's a heavyweight. He's a true heavyweight, and he's a Russian. And I don't like to generalize people of a culture or a nationality or a background or any of these things. But there is a cultural difference in how the Russians train and how they fight and how they think. And that isn't a racial thing. That isn't a genetic thing. That is an environmental thing. It's a cultural thing. And it's something to behold. I get the pleasure of doing some analysis for ACB, which is our light went out. Please don't. Oh, and it came back on. If it does change, please don't mind that. We're trying to do what we do here, which is think outside the box, look at things in a different way, use different language, and explore different ideas. And if the light changes, sorry, right? Yeah, if you're lucky, you gain a number of these things. You learn something. And then Volkov maybe doesn't have that experience, although we're going to touch on that a little bit too, on what a 19-year-old knows versus a 40-year-old. What Max Holloway knows compared to Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo's been around a lot longer, but the ability to gather information changes over time. But the world of the Russian combat athlete, and I've had like I said, I get to it's flashing on and off. We should probably just lose it, right? It's not going to bother too much. I get to analyze ACB, and I hope to commentate at some point. But I got to commentate 18 different martial arts at the World Combat Games in St. Petersburg, and to see how the Russians were able to fight in all of these different ways, and their mindset was different. It's not an overgeneralization. It's a cultural and environmental different way to think. And so we get these different thought processes matching up as well. We get different age, we get different mindsets, we get, somebody whose body may be past starting to peak this way in Werdum, but his mind is continually growing. And that is, one of the great things, one of the truly great things that science and psychology has discovered in the last decade in particular, is that we believed that the plasticity of your mind, your ability to continue to learn and continue to change and continue to gather information and physiologically change your brain, we thought that was a young person thing. Turns out that continues throughout your life. So what Werdum knows now, and he can build that knowledge on other knowledge, it's massive. So what does all this mean? What it means generally is we tend to look. We'll see something and we'll try to add a causation, or we'll look for the easiest route to explain something, or we'll look for the intuitive. We'll look for what seems obvious. But how this fight will unfold and every fight, this is why it's so amazing. So why this is the greatest sport in the world, is it's an ever-changing blend of all of these things. Can Werdum take down? So let's go back to the old school meat and potatoes here. It's hot lava because Werdum's better on the ground than everybody. Okay, so that's true. So what do you do if you're there? What do you do if you're there? And I'm going to, within a week of today, we're going to look at part 2 of Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson. What do you do when you're on the ground with somebody that is that talented? And think about this. In this scenario, Werdum is Tony Ferguson. Werdum is not Khabib or Khabib. Werdum is Tony Ferguson. Werdum likes to play guard. He likes to sweep. He likes to submit. He likes to attack head on. Khabib likes to dominate and chip away and slowly destroy. It's beautiful, really, what Khabib does. Just slowly demoralize you physically, mentally, emotionally. It must be brutal. Werdum would look to catch you. And so it's a different approach. While he's doing that, the answer that people have been looking for recently has been, let's get up. So if he sees that that's the case, and that Volkov, if we're in that situation, and Volkov goes to get up, the new approach is you build a game around attacking here. You attack the hip, and you lace this, and you work your way up to the back. You've seen it a lot more in the last year than you did before, because the simple principle, hopefully this picks up, is first, I'll put this here, first, if I was on the ground and I was on the bottom, I would try to submit or sweep you. You would beat me up, try to shut it down. Eventually, not only would you do more damage to me, and it was risky for that reason, but it was also risky if I didn't submit you or sweep you and get on top. Khabib, yeah. Beautiful, violent art that breaks your soul. I know, it's true. If you didn't get on top, if I didn't sweep you and get on top, you'll win. The judges will see you winning. So people started to get back to their feet. As they started to fight to get back to their feet, it caught the brain, the attention of the guy on the bottom, or the attention of the guy on the top, now was applied to trying to keep you down. I'm getting up, you're trying to keep me down, right? So in that situation, if I'm on top and I'm Werdum, I'm trying to keep you down and do whatever I can. You're trying to get up. Instead of fighting to keep you there, which takes all of my attention and all of my energy, and eventually the ref stands us up, you get part of the way up, and I start attacking from this angle. You see it all the time now. So watch for that with Werdum. But the real answer, you're fighting Werdum, and it's hot lava. And this is the real answer for all of these. And this is a simple answer. It's a simple truth that causes us to rethink what we used to think. And that's okay. It's always good to rethink whatever we used to think. It's always good. So we used to think Volkov has to be the better striker and keep it standing, because Werdum on the ground, he's a monster. He'll submit him. That is true. Ish. So what my goal wasn't. So then the answer would be, we must defend the takedown. The answer is, don't let him grab us. Volkov's been doing that really well. Volkov's been very good at that. You know, the guy beat Stefan Struve and Roy Nelson. Neither one is Werdum. Werdum is one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. And I say that as somebody who avoids those things. Someone will say, you know, is this guy the GOAT? Like, I don't fucking know. I mean, that's so subjective. And the way it isn't subjective is if we use data, math, wins. But even those are made up of small, different moments. You know, when Fedor had never lost, one day you lose. You know, is he still the greatest of all time? I don't know. You know, he lost to Werdum. What about Kane? Well, Werdum beat Kane. You know, like, these things are fun to talk about, and these are fun because we want to hang out and chat and, you know, eat food or drink beer or whatever we're doing while we watch fights, and we want to have debate and engage each other. But the truth is, we don't know. We'll never know. Never really know. But as someone who rarely says that, to say among the true greats ever, that you can say. That you know. If you've studied, if you've gathered all the information. Is Werdum better than Fedor just because he beat him? Is Werdum better than Kane just because he beat him? What about sea-level Kane? You know? Like, we start adding all these variables. We don't know. We don't know. And that's okay. And it's okay to say you do know and to battle about it with your friends. It's fun. But he is one of the greats, the true greats ever. He is. And that's what you earn when you beat the Struves and you beat the Roy Nelsons. Eventually you get here. And if you're Volkov, what you're hoping is that as I'm getting here, this true great gets a little tired, gets a little unmotivated, his body maybe doesn't do what it can do, and on this night I understand the game, and I start to move my feet, and I frustrate him, and all of a sudden, you go and you win that fight. And that's where we are. Did you need me to outline that for you? I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed, you know, as we looked around it. I hope more it just gave you insight into different ways to look at these things and different ways to look underneath something and see what's there. And if you find a little tidbit and it's got some value, it's going to raise a new question, and follow that and do that forever. And if you do that with one of your hobbies or one of your passions, fighting, make you do that and all kinds of other things. You'll learn the system of doing that. And it's super fun and it's super valuable. So often at the end, people will say, well, who's going to win? I don't fucking know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. That's okay. It's okay. That's why we watch. That's why we got to watch. We don't know. And then the people are like, well, what about a guess? I don't know. Probably Werdum wins. He's been better for a long time. I don't know what he ate that morning. But that's where the issue comes in. What did Werdum eat that morning? Did it make his stomach upset? Because if you're the guy that's getting close, and tonight's your night, and man, you haven't ever felt this good, and the game is coming together, and in the back, when we're preparing you for what's happening, you're nailing everything. Turns out the other guys had diarrhea all day. Shit, today's our day. That's why I tell you not to bet on fighting. But to recap my meander, 40 versus 29. Genius in one area. Genius. We're going to go a lot deeper into that with Khabib and Tony. Genius in one area. If we can take it to that battlefield, and not only we don't just need to take it there, we need to settle it there. If we can't settle it there and he's battling out, we need to find routes to be able to either pull him back there or attack there. And I guess technically, if you're interested in the technical stuff, that's the technical development that you've seen. Whereas once upon a time, I would try to fight you to the ground and make you surrender the takedown. When we did, I'd settle in on top and I would start to fight you. Or I'm on the bottom, I would get full guard and I would start breaking you down. When I did, I would start to attack. Today, when you take me down, I try to never surrender the takedown. Never accept it and accept the ground position. So I'm battling up. During the battle up, you attack. And that's what Werdum will look to do. If Verdum's going to submit this man, he might get on top. I was just about to say, I watch for it to possibly be during the man standing back to his feet, Volkov standing back to his feet and try to catch there. But, of course, that's a very common thing. It's something you're seeing. It makes sense because as a man standing back up, that's where people have developed the game the modern game. But Verdum's so good. He might also settle this man into side control and start crushing his face across and beating him up from there. He might take his back, or he might submit him from guard. That's the thing I'd like to see. I just think the guard is such a beautiful position. It's a truly offensive position. It's been undermined by the popular idea of standing back to the feet. So if you're interested in that, in some discussion of the guard, please go back and look at part 1 of Tony Ferguson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. If you also search that, there is a breakdown that I did back when I was working at Fight Network where I looked at the different ways those guys engage from different distances. I'm going to revisit that next week in part 2. But before I go, really spend some time taking a look at and really focus and put down the snacks and focus in, maybe turn down the volume. And I don't know about you, but when you've got friends over and everybody's having some drinks and everybody's talking, by the third fight of the main card and the co-main and the main, some of the chatter around other things starts to settle down and you start to focus in on the action a little bit more, focus in on the moments. Conversations become more about that, even if there's fringe fans. Do that with Manuwa and Jan Blachowicz. They fought once before, and it was a great fight, interesting fight, but I think they respected each other heavily. And I think this one will be very different. I think they both know that they need that. It's a tough place to be. There's real realities of fighting that come outside of the structure of what we think it should be. And one of those realities when you're guys like this is, let's say, and I think Manuwa, I think of him as mid to late 30s. And I think of Jan Blachowicz as well into his 30s as well. I could be wrong. That's just what comes to my mind as I picture these two guys who have been around that European scene for a long time. Manuwa in England and that mainland Europe, and then Blachowicz, who was in KSW, great organization. I do some analysis for them. And I did some commentary of Jan Blachowicz's fights way before he was in the UFC. And these guys really seasoned and really became great fighters. And that we should appreciate that. That's all that should matter. But it isn't, because at this stage, both of these guys, you start looking around, and I'm entirely just telling you not about these two people, but giving you a possibility if you were a fighter. You start looking around, you're in your mid-30s, you've had 20, 25 fights, you fought some of the best guys in the world, and in your bank, maybe you've bought a house, and maybe you have a mortgage, or maybe you've paid off some things, but even though these guys have made somewhere between $40,000 and $140,000 or $150,000 a year for the last 10 years, but the first 5 of them were 20, 30, 40, and 50,000. That's a lot of money. That's money the cop makes. That's the kind of money that more than a school teacher makes. Good, hardworking people that do hardworking jobs. But school teachers, I was going to say cops. Cops do take a lot of damage and risk, but school teachers don't tend to, although who the fuck knows what they're doing in America with guns and stuff. Just arm the school teachers. I don't want to get into that. The rest of the world thinks that's crazy, but I don't want to get it. I don't want to offend anybody. It's not my business. But school teachers don't take brain damage, is what I'm saying. Most people who work hard don't take brain damage. They don't have parts of their body that ache for the next couple of decades when they're trying to pick up their kids. And these guys do. And so you're looking around, and you really are looking at it. And I had a conversation just this week, and I can't tell you with who, but he's a legend. UFC legend, and he's fighting still in different organizations, and he was like, I gotta go in there and just go guns blazing because people don't want to see me point fight at late 30s of his life. They want to see him knock somebody out so he can get 3 or 4 more of these, go in and try to knock out a few more until he gets knocked out so he can make 100 or 150 grand in the next 6 months, because you need to make money. And one day your hands have been broken 4 times, your jaw's been broken twice, your neurological function isn't what it once was. You're looking at it, if you're in the last 2 or 3 years of your life, you got to go. And as much as I love and honor these fighters, that doesn't make me feel comfortable. But that's the truth. Guys like this look at that and go, we're going for it. We're not fighting. We don't have the years left to fight smart until we get the big fights and then win that one and then become the champ and then make $1 million a fight. You start getting down to this, and they fight with this reckless urgency. And I expect that from these guys. And when Blachowicz is fighting from southpaw, he doesn't always, but when he is, that left kick, man, that thing became the left kick became a weapon that you saw a lot whenever anyone switched to southpaw, and then we all kind of understood it. It's like he's going to southpaw. I can see the way he's shifting his body. It's going to be a left body kick. Might come up to the head. Pay attention. It's setting up his power weapon. So then we started to it started to phase out a little bit. You didn't see it as commonly. But some guys, when that happens, they quietly go and they work on the details. Luke Rockhold worked on the details. There was a beautiful couple of body kicks. British guy. Oh, I'm forgetting. Ashcombe. Scott Ashcombe at KSW. Go back and watch that. Michael Materla is one of the great martial artists. Go watch that fight. You should be able to find that fight. Michael Materla versus Scott Ashcombe. That's how you throw those kicks to the body. And so that's an interesting one. And it's going to be a fun fight. Watch that one. But 2 great fights. Super excited to see them. Sunday, while I'm at it, please, Friday night on Fight Pass, please check out TKO. Of all the fights I commentate in the world, of all the cards I commentate in the world, that's the one I'm proudest to do. The fights are amazing. Please check that out. And we'll be back in a couple days. We're going to have a piece on CM Punk, because I've changed my perspective on CM Punk. And I want to talk about that. And then we will take another look at Khabib and Tony, and Rose and Joanna will take our first look, maybe a 5-minute look at that. All that in the next few days. In the meantime, thank you guys for hanging out with me, and thank you guys. Really, it's going to be fun. We're going to have 2 or 3 different, couple different studio setups and 2 or 3 different looks at them over the next while. So thanks for sharing the work, Ollie. Please follow me on Instagram at Robin Black MMA, and shoprobinblack.com. You want your hot lava shirt. Black out.